Hi everyone, welcome back. We were without internet for nearly 24 hours, but although I felt a little lost, I have a routine of checking the news in the morning. But of course, I could not do so today, but for a change, I did not get upset, but stayed in bed an hour longer and got down to doing other things which I have been putting off for a while. Well, with the Star magazine and other fringe publications speculating that Meghan is pregnant at 41 with her third child, I think it is the perfect time to finish up with the book and pregnancies and complete our dossier so it can be sent off to the palace. Now, look, I sincerely doubt Meghan would want another child, whether she has to give birth to the child or not. However, I do think she will do just about anything to hurt, irritate, or upstage the royals and focus all the attention on herself. So, for that reason, why wouldn't she arrange a miscarriage during the coronation? Just imagine Meghan with her hair flowing behind her being taken out of Westminster Abbey on a stretcher and ambulances and security blaring down the road away from the coronation. Can you imagine Meghan's narrative after such an event? She would jump on the first talk show and tell the world that her miscarriage was caused by the toxic royal family. Yes, maybe something like that. But a real baby? I'm not sure Meghan has the time for a new baby. But then again, if there is some old billionaire, well, that may be a little different. But no, I think this is just a bit of Markle spin to distract from the court case and the coronation. Remember, she is now doing her own PR. And as we know, Meghan is not the most creative, most imaginative person. So I can see her recycling old news stories. Remember, Meghan also does not care about the truth either. So she can literally spin anything, anytime, if and when it suits her. So we'll see which size bump she'll wear when we see her next, if she wears one at all. Okay, so back to the book and Archie. So, like I said in my previous video, from the day Archie was born until they went to visit Elton John and David in France, Harry did not write anything about Archie in his book. It was as if he had forgotten that he had a kid. But he does talk about Archie on this trip to France. He talks about Alton and David and their two boys falling in love with Archie and how he would often catch Alton studying Archie's face. And according to Harry, he just knew Alton was thinking about Mummy and how often he himself would see a look pass over Archie's face that would stop him short and make him think of Mummy. Well, Obi-Wan Kenobi once advised Luke Skywalker to not trust his eyes because your eyes can deceive you. And this is so true. It happens to most of us at least once. Remember stopping in the street, adamant that the person who just crossed the road was your, say, friend from 10 years back, or seeing a heart-shaped pebble on the beach, although you would be hard-pressed to convince anyone else that it is actually heart-shaped. The phenomena is called motivated perception. Yes, indeed, it happens. Our perception is often biased, selective, or malleable. So here we have Harry in his book and in the Netflix series telling us how much his children take after the Spencers or then Grandma Diana. Well, I've not seen a proper untouched photograph of Lily yet, but even so, just judging from short clips in the Netflix series, Lily is not blonde. And I can't really speak for her eyes, but they do not look bright blue like Diana's. As for Archie, he has dark, curly hair and dark eyes. In my opinion, neither of the children look or will ever look like the Spencers or Diana. And it is rather sad to hear Harry say so convincingly that him and everyone else see Diana in his children. No, Harry, we don't. And it is only Harry's delusions playing mind tricks on him. He is literally seeing what he wants to see, or then what the experts call motivated perception. Again, moving on. From Harry's book, it appears that they were still living in Tyler Perry's home when they found out that Meghan was pregnant again. Harry corroborates Meghan's story that she had a miscarriage on their first morning in their new home, which we have determined was approximately the 9th of July. But with Harry's recollection, we now have three different stories. There is Meghan's story of changing and picking up Archie and sinking to the floor, singing to him. There is Abigail Spencer's story of arriving there, Meghan and Archie waiting for her, and then Meghan sinking to the floor minutes after she arrived. And then we have Harry's story of Meghan reporting abdominal pain, collapsing to the floor, and bleeding a lot. He says he raced to the local hospital. Okay, now, firstly, who is telling the truth and who is lying? Or are all three of them lying? I personally am going for the latter. In my opinion, all three of them are lying. Remember them trying to convince us that those pictures of Meghan wearing a white dress and a dental bag was actually them leaving the hospital after the miscarriage. How desperate must you be to try and convince people that you do not stop to think that one, people have GPS, two, there's such a thing as Google Maps, and three, the person who took the photograph knew where he was, and he clicked you at a medical building in Los Angeles, not the cottage hospital in Santa Barbara. So now that is the most obvious and provable lie. But what neither Harry nor Meghan tells anybody, not in the New York Times article, not in the Netflix series, and not in the book. What happened to Archie when you suddenly rushed off? Two, what happened to Abigail? Did she go along to the hospital? Did she go home? Or did she stay back waiting for you to return? Okay, now in a previous video, we have already established that early in July, Meghan could not have been more than a few weeks pregnant, if at all. We saw her in a video on Archie's birthday in May. We saw them delivering meals in April 2020 during COVID. Yes, we saw them on a number of Zoom calls during those months. So it's only logic to guess that if at all true, Meghan would have been more or less 12 weeks or less when she had the miscarriage. But then Harry writes, We left the hospital with our unborn child, a tiny package. We went to a place, a secret place only we knew, under a spreading banyan tree. While Megan wept, I dug a hole with my hands and set the tiny package softly into the ground. Now, I've had so many arguments about this that I reached out to subscribers who are nurses and one subscriber whose husband is a doctor in California. And I asked whether there is any possibility that this could be true. And 5 out of 5 said no. Being 12 weeks or less and describing the miscarriage the way Harry did, with the presence of blood and lots of it, there is no way there would be anything resembling a fetus to put into a parcel. The wife of the doctor explained the procedure of a D&C to me, not that she had to, as I've myself had one many years ago. But of course, she has the language skills to do so tactfully. When there is severe cramping and bleeding, the doctor will recommend and perform a D&C, particularly if the miscarriage takes place during the first trimester. During the procedure, the cervix will be cleaned with an antiseptic solution. The doctor will then use a curette to scrape the tissue which lines the cervix wall, and suction may be used to remove tissue as well. The procedure takes about 30 minutes. The doctor will send some of the tissue collected to a lab, and you will be held in a recovery room for about 45 minutes before being discharged. In early pregnancy miscarriage, a D&C is almost always recommended because it speeds up the inevitable. Pain will be less after the procedure, and bleeding will become lighter sooner. And in general, the body will return to its normal state much, much sooner. So, my dears, I do not care what Harry says. Under 20 or 24 weeks, there is nothing to bury, and the hospital is not going to give you bloody swabs to go bury, and even less so during a pandemic. After 20 weeks, a hospital will release the fetus to an undertaker of your choice or offer their own cremation service. They will not release it to you wrapped in a parcel if you live in urban United States. Yes, I received letters from a few people who said they or someone they know got it released to them. But in each instance, there was a good reason. They were either hundreds of miles from home or they had a family plot on a farm. The fact is, it is illegal to dump or bury human remains or medical waste anywhere but in a designated, registered, approved site and in a recognized, approved manner. End of story. And guess what? It is the same in most countries, not just in California, as it serves to protect people from the spread of disease or bacteria getting into underground water. So why did Harry lie? Why add that piece of illogical drama? Is he seeing himself as this tragic hero in a fictional drama? Is he so far gone, so delusional, that he is totally unable to stop and even consider whether his lie could resemble the truth or not? Does he even stop to think that his lies could harm someone. What if one of us was so inclined, and as an inhabitant of California concerned about our health, we go to a court and sue Harry for endangering our health by burying medical waste without proper precautions, and say it really happened because some starstruck nurse thought it was cute? Well, now Harry will have to go to court and tell which hospital was so irresponsible, especially during COVID. And so I, Miss California, will sue the hospital as well and report them to the Department of Health. Anyway, a long time ago, I was in contact with a person who had ties to the Harkles at the time of the supposed miscarriage. And according to her, it is doubtful it happened because, in her version, Harry was not at home and Meghan upset. And in the morning, when she was at the house, this person I spoke to, Doria called Harry and told him to return to the home immediately because Meghan had a miscarriage. So, my dear friends, there is that version too. And the strange thing is, I was told this version before Meghan's piece appeared in the New York Times. So, you guys can go ahead and figure that out. So, do I still have those WhatsApps and email that I was sent by this person? Yes, I do. Okay, so now let's skip along to Lily's birth. Again, neither Harry nor Meghan actually confirm who the delivering OBGYN is. People assume that it is Dr. Melissa Drake because her name appears on the fake birth certificate or then the proof of life certificate. The same Dr. Melissa Drake, who now closed her practice and is being sued for malpractice. The same Dr. Drake, whose husband is a fertility IVF specialist. Yes, either her or Dr. Gary Motha, who led the birth virtually, according to Meghan. This time, Harry does not partake of the laughing gas, as according to him, there isn't any. He is also not as descriptive of the birth process as he was of Archie's, except for one thing. He says the bodyguards fed them again. According to Harry, they brought hamburgers and fries from In-N-Out and fajitas from a local Mexican restaurant for Meghan. Okay, now let's stop the bus. Remember the days when we had to stop eating as soon as labor started? With my first child, I even got an enema to rid me of whatever was left in my digestive system. My second pregnancy, I still could not eat, but I did get to suck on those flavored ice lollies a few times. However, these days, some practitioners don't mind and believe that eating during labor is fine as long as you stick to fluids and snacks and not something like a steak dinner. Although doctors are still a bit dodgy about allowing food in case of an emergency and you may need an anesthetic. However, these days, full anesthesia is not given for cesarean, so aspiration is unlikely. Having said all of this, here is what the medical fraternity recommend you digest during labor. Toast with jam, but you must skip the butter and peanut butter though. Plain pasta, applesauce or jello, popsicles or sorbet, clear broth or fruit juice without pulp, and ice chips. In fact, the entire medical fraternity recommend a mom stay away from anything high in fat and fiber. So definitely no fajitas. Okay, so when I come back, we are going to finish this up. Of course, I don't need to tell you that the status on Lily's birth certificate has not changed from anything I or others have said so far. As a matter of fact, a well-known person was so adamant to prove the likes of myself and Paula M. and others wrong that he launched his own search for a copy of Lily's birth certificate and records of their United States passport applied for the children, or records of endorsements on the passports of the children, anything. I mean, we all leave a digital footprint, but to date, even this well-known person, who has far more resources than I do, have not been able to trace any records. Yet the children exist. So what is up with their paperwork? Well, those of us who have been communicating with each other have made a decision. It is not our job to prove that those children are legitimate. It is not our job to prove that their paperwork is in order. No, the monarchy are acknowledging the children on their website as being sixth and seventh in the line of succession. So the responsibility lies with the monarchy. So in my next video, I'll show you and read to you the letter of demand for transparency, and in another video, I shall show myself mailing it. So that will happen as soon as I can make it to our neighboring town. I've also put out feelers about a number of other issues pertaining to Harry, Meghan, and the royals in general. And this week, we'll get back to the current situation on both sides of the pond. Okay, my dears, so until we meet again on the next video, please take good care of yourselves. Bye.